let me just get the live stream sorted out. Okay, nearly there. So, this evening we are in the Gold Coast. I'm on the drone camera high above the airfield, so we'll lower ourselves down and we'll go in and have a look around the airfield. So this is the version of Gold Coast available from Orbex. We're following the car park in. The height restrictions and the barriers. It's very nicely done, isn't it? Very cool. Now the question is, can we go into the building? I'm just going to turn the drone camera speed down. We may modify this again later. I just want to turn the speed down, hopefully. There we go. So let's go into the departures. Actually, did we look around outside yet? I think we've kind of seen this side. The drone camera's too slow now, isn't it? Let's turn it back up to about 5. That will do. So we got into the building and we got the... okay, it's only modelled in a very basic way, but it's still quite cool, isn't it? So we've got the departures there. Can we go through the back end of departures? No, we can't. Okay. So okay, so they've to save on frame rate, they've just put some pictures on the walls of what's actually there. It's still quite cool though, isn't it? The Glass House Bar. But bizarrely they've got unmodelled bottles on the shelves. Anyway, let's come out airside. This is the Sunshine Coast Terminal building. It's very cool, isn't it? Just reading the live stream comments. Yeah, I could go to Slovenia at some point. I'm sure I've done some flights in Slovenia in the past. So I'm just making our way down to my aeroplane, which is down at the far end. Do you know what? Should we go and clean the weather up? It's looking pretty awful today, isn't it? Let's go and go for just a few clouds maybe. And should we wind this back a bit to an hour earlier in the morning? So 6:30, get a bit longer shadows. Okay, so I'm parked right down the far end of here, so you can see there's my little Piper Seminole, just parked at the end of the parking area down here. Just coming down towards it, so we'll have a look at some of these buildings along the way. So we've got the Blue Tongue Helicopter Services, whoever that is. It's a little 152 parked down there. And here's our aeroplane for today, surrounded by officials who don't look very happy with me. So this is what we're going to be flying. So let's put the Xbox controller off to one side. Do you think we should go and persevere with the real weather then? It might be more fun actually. It gives us more of a challenge. Oh my word, look how dark it is. Okay, so I haven't been in this aeroplane for ages and ages and ages. So first things first, let's go get the correct controller profile for the hardware. So wait for the screen to wake up. There we go. And we don't want Airbus controls. We want a double or two engine. There it was. Two engines, please. Go back, resume. So let's just make sure they work. They do work. It's so dark, isn't it? So mixture to rich. Proper RPM is already on high. This is the Carenado aeroplane, so it's not going to be super accurate. So battery master switch. Put the alternators on already. Mags for the right engine. And I wonder if we need to have the pump on. We'll do it just to see what happens. Oh, fuel. So where are the fuel levers in this one? Or have they hidden them? Where's the master shut off for the fuel? Because that didn't come on, did it? Has anybody flown the Seminole recently? Interesting. So where have they put the fuel shut-off valves? This has completely foxed me. It's not. They're not hidden up here, are they? Above my head, no. And that's the door latches. They're not back here, are they? It's not one of these crazy designs. Oh, here they are. Being completely blind. So it would help to pump some fuel through and to use the primer if we had... Right, should we try that again? That sounds a bit better. And open the engine a little bit. Hurrah! We have engines. And we should have had the beacon light on, of course, when we did that. Does it have a beacon light? No, it doesn't. It has a nav light, and it has a strobe, it has recognition lights. There's an autopilot master there. And the radio master switch can now come on, obviously. We can go and put the transponder onto standby. Just wait for the GPS to fire up. Okay, let's go and run the engines up to, where's the RPM gauge? There we go, 1500 RPM for a few moments, just to see what happens to the temperatures here. Interesting. Just reading the comment about blue tongue helicopters. So the chief pilot there was the pilot in Skippy. When I was growing up, the big Australian TV show was Chopper Squad, which I gather didn't run for very long, but I remember it very clearly. Okay, so GPS is up and running. Shall we go and zoom in on this while we are programming the route, just so anyone who's not done this before will have some idea what we're doing. So I've sketched it out in LittleNavMap. So we're going to go basically up the coast towards Mackay. How far we'll get this evening is another question. So we'll probably do it in lengths. So we're going to go... Gladstone is the first big waypoint, so got Sunshine Coast up to Gladstone. So the ones I have the scenery for are Sunshine Coast, Gladstone, Rockhampton, and Mackay. The others are all going to be the stock flight sim scenery. So I will actually land and have a good look around at the ones that we've got the scenery for. This is still not acquired. Oh, come on. Okay, so flight plan. Where are we taking off from? YBSU. Enter. And then we go to YGYM. And then a YRBB. And then YMYB. So we'll do this in legs to the full stops, I guess. Hervey Bay, YHBA. And then Pacific Haven, YPAC. Bundaberg, YBUD. Agnes Water, YAWT. And Gladstone, YGLA. Okay, so that's our basic point-to-point navigation programmed in, so we should be able to get on with this now. Mow down the helper. Slowly making our way out to the airport, and there's the terminal. Or to the runway, I should say. Looks very cool, doesn't it? Could have taken a shortcut back there, but I think it's nice to go and have a look around anyway. Get told off for taxiing too fast in a moment. Can we not get through here? Interesting. I'm just going to turn us around. And put the parking brake on for a moment. let's go and have a look at the airfield layout from overhead. Okay, yeah, it's over there. We've gone to the wrong corner of the airfield. That's interesting, isn't it? It's a huge airfield. It's much bigger than it looks, actually. That serves me right for not looking at the map. Okay, let's break the taxi speed limits. We're going to get near to takeoff speed. Looks like we're going to have company. Oh, at least the engine's nice and warmed up, hey? Bring us up to the piano keys, and I'll stop and sort the aeroplane out. I need to put some more fuel in, actually. Didn't even think about that when I spawned in. I was too busy looking at the airfield. Okay, let's go and jump outside the aeroplane quickly with a can of fuel in our hand and put some more in. We're not rendering a co-pilot anyway. So, do we have landing lights over here somewhere? Nav lights and landing lights. There we go. Oh, that's the strobes, isn't it? Oops. You can see that crosswind is trying to get under one side of the aeroplane. Gear up. Look at that. Look at it trying to turn into the wind. Yeah, look at him drifting. So much for the Sunshine Coast, hey? Where's the sunshine? Behind that whacking great cloud by the look of it. Okay, so why... Okay, it does have us in the middle of this. Let's put this on Rose mode, and we'll go and turn on the transponder. Not that we're really using it because we don't have any ATC. Let's get ourselves sat in the correct place in the airplane as well. You can't really damage the engines in the Carenado versions of these airplanes. So, autopilot, what do we have? We have altitude hold, which is quite good, I suppose. I'm presuming the autopilot master switch is on the yoke. So we'll wait till we get to 2,500 feet. Oh, look. Lovely weather. Yeah, you're not going to get to see anything, are you, if we place it? I'm going to turn the weather off. It's going to be very boring to look at for anybody watching this playback. Maybe we'll try the live weather again a bit later on. I'll have a look at the live stream questions in a moment. I'm just kind of climbing out to a sensible altitude here. For the cruise part of this. So we've got 22 miles to run. So we're going to go and it sounds like the engines are never going much on the RPM, doesn't it? So let's turn the autopilot on and we'll do altitude hold. So we'll do it at 4,000 feet just to see how quickly it reacts. Will it backtrack to 4,000? Yeah, it does. That's very cool. Okay, so then go nav mode, and we're in GPS mode on the CDI, so it's going to bank slightly right just to get the track. And you can see that first waypoint out there. YGYM. So we're doing about 150 knots, which is good. Seeing as we've got a little way to go, should we climb up a little bit higher? So I don't think we get an altitude pre-selector in this, do we? This is just going to do vertical speed. Unless I'm missing something else around the cockpit. It's so long since I've flown this. I don't think it has a pre-selector. So you just, you just use vertical speed to get to where you're going. So that'd be 500 feet a minute, is that right? That's correct. Hurrah. So we'll let it climb up to, say, 5,000 or 6,000 feet gently. Aha, we're closing in on Cyclone Kirrily. So let's have some fun with that then. So if we go into LittleNavMap and copy the flight plan to the clipboard, and then go and run Navigraph. Navigraph has the live weather projections onto it, so we'll unload the flight plan I have, do a new one, and paste in our sequence of airports. And there we go, we're on this first leg down here. We'll switch this over to the VFR map. So you can see we're on our way to Gympie, or Gympie, I'm not sure how you, or Gympie, I'm not sure how you pronounce it. And we can get the weather on Navigraph as an overlay, can't we? With the radar, which will show obviously rain, which there's little bits of it further north. Can we show cloud cover maybe? Ah, that's doing it at a particular altitude though, isn't it? We want to know at about 2,000 feet. Yeah, look, we're right in the middle of it. So as soon as we get a bit further down the track, we'll be okay. So maybe, for the purposes of a bit of fun, we should put the live weather on, and then we'll fly above the clouds. So let's go and push on, shall we? Oh, we don't want the mixture flat out. We want the propellers to go a bit faster though. And we'll increase the climb rate. So 1,000 feet a minute. Coming up to 5,000. Makes it more fun, doesn't it? And the real weather always looks better than the preset weather. So, there's a comment there. Do we have any tips about the A310? Every time I try to load the plane at the airport, the game crashes to the desktop. Which A310 are you on about? Are you on about the Airbus or the little twin GA aeroplane? Yep, I downloaded the Uncas update earlier, Sim. So we're just coming up to 6,000 feet. But we are going to have to descend again very soon, so let's just put altitude hold on for the moment. Haven't got very far to go, 8 miles to run. Weather in front of us is clearing a bit, isn't it? So let's start descending back down again. So, vertical speed mode, and bring us down at 1,500 feet a minute. Come off the power a bit to hold the speed back. And a bit more. Manifold pressure's dropped through the floor, isn't it? I mean, there is a school of thought that you keep the revs up and reduce the propeller speed on purpose to do this, and use the propeller as a huge air brake. So there's the airfield. So which way is the wind at the airfield? 30 degrees, 13 knots, so it's coming in from this way, and it's quite strong. So we need to go down that end anyway and come round, and we'll have quite a strong crosswind to deal with. So that'd be a good, fun crosswind landing with not having flown this aeroplane for ages, but I can't see it as it being a huge problem. We'll do the side slip technique where we point it down the runway with the rudder and just bank to move laterally. It seems to often be the easiest way. Come on, let's come off the autopilot. Oh, this has the klaxon, doesn't it? So you can't go below 50% throttle. Yeah, look at the speed coming up. So one way of descending in a hurry is obviously to side slip it to increase drag. So you can see the speed falling off there. So then we can dip the nose and balance that against the speed coming off. So it's just side slipping. So we're actually going that way. Keep an eye on the runway over there. This is going to be fun. That's okay, let's remove the side slip. Yeah, the weather's clearing this side, isn't it? It's looking quite good. I'm glad we put the live weather back on. Okay, so there's the runway. We're in flaps range on the airspeed, so first stage of flaps. Put the gear down as well, because that will help with drag as well. Should we have a look at that while we're doing it? Oh, it's already gone up. Should we cycle the gear just so you get to see the animation? It's quite cool, isn't it? Okay, that's the runway. Now we have the gear down, we can reduce the revs more, but we don't want to completely idle the plane out. So we're conscious there is going to be a crosswind. isn't that bad, looking at it. So this is just going to be a touch and go. We're not doing a full stop here. Yeah, our crab angle isn't bad at all actually, so the wind certainly on approach isn't anything like as bad as we thought it might be. Yeah, you can see the windsock there, it's just dangling. Okay, let's have a look and see where we're going next. Oh, I made a mistake there, didn't I? I didn't put the fuel back to rich. Now, do we get control? This is just carb heat, isn't it? It's not... Oh, cowl flaps are down here. But do we actually get to control them? I think we actually do, looking at that. So while we're in flight, we ought to be closing them. So that's closed, and okay, so we never had them open. That's interesting. Of course, it's a Carenado aeroplane, so it's debatable, you know, how well simulated they will be anyway. So we're back on up to 150 knots. Let's have a look at the map. So we want to be turning left. Scenery is amazing, isn't it? It looks real sometimes. This aircraft I'm flying is the Seminole. It's Carenado. You can buy it from the marketplace within the simulator. Okay, so next leg is 33 miles, so we'll go back to nav mode on the autopilot. We'll engage the autopilot, go to vertical speed and tell it to climb at 1,000 feet a minute, please. So it's putting itself on an intercept angle with the track. And we'll let it keep climbing for a little while. So just coming up through 2,000 feet again. There's a little bit of turbulence now. So it's kind of pockets of bad weather. We were obviously lucky in that clearing where the airfield was, but the weather was much nicer. So let's go and push on with propellers. Let's have a look outside. I'm going to leave the landing lights on. It's such rubbish weather today. I'd rather be seen. So if you want to know how to spell Seminole, there we go, it's on the engine cowls. It was used as a trainer for multi-engine aircraft, I believe. It has its main use around the world. There's lots of them around, apparently. So we're just gaining the track there, look. You can see that happening. And off on our way again. So we're coming up to 3,500 feet, so we need to deal with the mixture. 28 miles to run, so we'll climb up to say, I don't know, 6,000 or 7,000 feet. See how we get on. This aeroplane is really nicely modelled, I have to say, but Carenado always do a good job, don't they? You get various options in the tablet as well. So if we go and pull the tablet out. So when you're on the ground, you've got some various features you can show or hide. So we've got co-pilot show hide, interesting. Oh, I think that's from the external views, that means. The co-pilot door, whether it's open or closed. We've got whether we want the GTN installed, we're not going to. And obviously you've got some shortcuts there and a checklist. So it's quite basic, but it does the job. Okay, 25 miles to go. We're just coming up to 5,000 feet. Shall we put altitude hold on it? 5,000, yeah. There we go. And then pull the throttles back a little bit. Pull the propellers back a bit. We want probably about 25 on the manifold pressure, don't we? Oh, that is maximum. Okay. That's good. So that's averaging about 140 knots in a straight line then. It's just creeping up faster. It's probably going to get to 145-ish, 150. Did I calibrate the altimeter? Oh, there we've got obviously different barometric pressure now than we had on the ground. So that probably wasn't the wisest thing to do. So we set it for the next airfield. That might be a wise thing to do. So we're flying the GPS track straight to Rainbow Beach. So let's have a look at the information on Rainbow Beach. QNH1010. So let's go and set that on our altimeter. That's it. It sounds like a fast washing machine. I think you could probably say it is a fast washing machine. It's a nice little aeroplane though. You can see why they use it for trainers. Obviously it teaches you the... Carenado aren't very realistic, though it has to be said, but it does teach you about the concerns of flying a multi-engine aircraft. You know, with having to look at two sets of engine gauges. Obviously, because this is dumbed down a bit, we're not having to play games with the cowl flaps, we're not having to play with the carb heat much. I don't think it will simulate anything we'd have to take account of. I'm just looking at the amps are fine, all the pressures are fine, temperatures are fine. Cylinder head temperatures are actually quite low. RPM's good. Manifold pressure. Well, there's no rating on here of what's damaging, but anyway. We're not really using the radio nav kit. Should we have a look and see if there's any beacons nearby that we can have a play with? I don't think there is, to be honest. There's only the VOR over at Sunshine Coast, 114.2. Should we switch it on? Not that it's really going to affect this because this is in GPS mode, so yeah, there's no point. What we could do is just line this up with our track, just in case we do want to switch to it at some point. Okay, lots of fluffy clouds to admire as we fly past them. Yeah, the black square aircraft, just looking at the live stream comments, the black square aircraft are very, very good. Unfortunately, they are all a little bit broken at the moment because since the last sim update, the GPS tracking on the autopilot doesn't work at all. So you have to fly heading mode if you're there. It's a bit of a shame, but you can live with it. It's better than nothing, having heading mode. I understand it's a breaking change that Asobo made, and Working Title are aware of it, so hopefully they'll fix it. So as far as I understand, this will be Nav 1 and this will be Nav 2. This doesn't have frequency, glide slope. Just wondering which radio this is. Is it just doing distance measuring? Yeah, it is. It's just SDME. Some of the other aircraft have got the RNAV radio, which is really good fun to play with. So we can't be that far away. So it's right on the peninsula then, so out over there is where we're heading for. And of course, as is the same all over the world, the cloud bank is on the coast, so where the sea air hits the land, condenses and turns into cloud. So Alas is saying, why are you ignoring me? I was looking at the simulator. Okay, I get this quite a lot where people lose their rag with me in the live stream comments. I'm not always looking at the live stream. I'm looking at the aeroplane a lot of the time. It's not an attention-seeking game, okay? If I'm not looking at the live stream comments, I'm just not looking. Will I be making a video about the DA42? Yes. The answer to any question involving will I be looking at aeroplane ABC is yes. It's kind of become the thing I do, quite accidentally really. I draw a line at the rubbish planes in the marketplace though, like the Captain Sim planes and stuff like that. They're not entirely rubbish, it's just I'd rather focus my time on the ones where the developers have really tried to do something. Where they've got really good quality. Are we there yet? The airfield is just over there. I think it's that patch you can see if we zoom in and cheat with the camera. I think it's that strip. So we have a look on the map and see how big the airfield is. That's interesting. This has actually gone wrong, hasn't it? There are some airfields that Navigraph doesn't have that LittleNavMap does. So Rainbow Beach is 3,000 feet. Oh, that's plenty. So we're going to have a 16, although 16 knot is where we are. What's the wind on the ground? 30 degrees, 14 knots. So if we go do a measure distance, so 30 would be that direction. Yeah, so that's the direction the wind is going to be going, yeah? Towards the airfield at that angle, almost a reciprocal of the angle we're at. So we want to be going runway 33. So what we'll do is start descending, but we'll also turn right, so we'll come off the autopilot. We'll do it by hand for a change. So we'll aim for that town down there. And should we have a play with the cowl flaps and see if it makes any difference to the engine. I'm not sure if we can actually get to them. They're really tucked away down here, but they have been simulated, look. So we can open them. Should we have a look outside, see what difference? So there's the cowl flaps. Very cool. So what it does is sucks air, an increased airflow through the engine. As far as I understand. Okay, this really is going to be hidden in the trees, isn't it, until we're in line with it. So let's just descend and cut the engine a little bit to descend a bit more steeply. It's going to be a touch and go, we're not going for donuts. That will put the aeroplane overweight. So we need to slow down as well. So what I might do is turn away from the airfield and loop around. So we're deliberately continuing out over the beach, and then we'll execute a right turn, a descending turn. And hopefully we slow down as we turn. So we're holding altitude at the moment. Oh, look at that sandbank. It's quite impressive. So we're losing speed in the turn, which is good. We can extend the flaps first stage. Let's make sure we've got the mixture back on rich. There's the runway. Gear down. Keep an eye on this guy in front of us. So if you remember looking at the chart, the wind's coming from our right hand side, so we're crabbing slightly to maintain runway direction. When we get a bit closer, what we'll do is pull the nose round with the rudder, but then dip the right wing towards the wind, which means we can keep the aeroplane pointing down the runway without being pushed sideways. So we're side slipping on purpose to maintain the runway direction. But because we're side slipping, remember, we'll need more throttle. Quite a delicate balancing act. And we're being hit by turbulence now from the wind that's hitting this tree line is throwing us around. Hopefully once we get into the trees, the turbulence will disappear. So we're holding quite a lot of left rudder to balance the wind, and then the wind will vanish hopefully now. Yeah, it's gone smooth, look. Keep the nose low, get the flaps up, get the gear up, watch the airspeed hopefully come up a little bit. And we're out of the trees again. Look at that turbulence chucking us around. It's like a roller coaster ride. flaps are now completely up. Get the autopilot back on, and then we'll start fiddling with things in the cockpit. So autopilot's on, nav mode is on. We'll go vertical speed mode at 1,000 feet a minute. So you can see it's doing that. We can go and close those cowl flaps. And say we climb, well, we get above the, what's the cloud doing around us? So we stay below it actually. So let's go for altitude hold. Or should we? Not quite at this, well, we're just about on the bottom of the cloud now, aren't we? Let's go for 2,000 feet. Let's see what happens. So the aeroplane has attained the track again, so we've got 23 miles to run. Go and correct the course to go the direction we're going on this leg. Oops. Do this carefully. This has accelerating controls. You can see that the markers were moving faster and faster as we got closer to them. Okay. See it being tipped around by the wind. Whoa, there's some proper storms happening over there, look. Dumping rain. They're getting lashed over there. So where is that? Out on that peninsula. So we're just leaving here. So we're looking out towards the opposite the Dimon. So I don't think anyone lives out there. Should we have a look on satellite map? It'll tell us right now. So does anybody live over here? No, it's all just wetland, isn't it? So we're on our way to Maryborough next. Flying past the Great Sandy Strait. So if we go and have a look. Yeah, I don't think flight sim's very good at this sort of thing where you might be able to see sandbanks under the water. You can see it further up maybe. This area, it hasn't got it, look. There's nothing here. Looks like it might have further up though. So once you get up into these shallows, it looks like it's got something. How are we doing on speed? So we're still out of the yellow area, which is good. And again, it's typical Carenado, isn't it? So I wonder if we do go flat out, because it won't damage the engine. Let's see. See, really, all we're doing is throwing more fuel away. If anything, it's slowing down at higher RPM. Oh no, it's creeping up. So we might get 165-ish out of it, maybe. Are there servers with player collisions? No, there are no collisions modelled in Flight Simulator. I've never had a problem with the 318. If you're talking about the twin, no, it's Blackbird Simulations, isn't it? It used to be Milviz. It just works for me. Love seeing the 208s up and flying. Very underrated planes. Yeah, they are. Okay, let's pull this back a little bit. So 2,500 manifold pressure, and then let's pull the RPM back to match. We've got a message here. What's it saying? Yeah, we don't want to play around with VNAV today. We're just doing some sightseeing and playing around with the aeroplanes. Okay, so the airfield we're flying towards, let's have a little look at the diagram. Maryborough. Let's turn this back to terrain view so it's cleaner to look at. So wind on the ground at Maryborough is 30 degrees 14 knots. So pretty much that direction in. So we'll go runway 35. So what we could do with doing then is go to maybe heading mode, and we'll offset heading slightly on the way in, say off by 25-30 degrees. So if we go heading mode now, do we have heading mode? Yes, we do. So let the aeroplane track across. Do we get an OBS mode on here? If we were to turn this off of GPS mode, because we're not using nav now, and we go to VLOC, yeah, it's got an OBS mode, so we could set this to the runway direction on the course, which would be 350. So let's do that. 3. So that gives us a reference just on here of our angle to the runway direction as we backtrack. But what we can do is render it on here with OBS. So I think what we have to do is just give this a tweak. Yeah, there we go. So that is the line through the runway on the runway direction. So we can get some reference of where we are. So if we couldn't see it outside, we can still see it on here and fly into it at the right angle. Obviously we can reduce the range on this as well. So we can start to get ready for landing again. So let's open those cowl flaps up, if I can get to them. I think we can actually grab it through there, can't we? The head tracking hates me doing these crazy angles. So we're coming up towards, the runway's going to be over there somewhere. There it is. So we'll come off the autopilot. So again, we're going to have crosswind, but it's not too bad. If you look at it on the map, you can kind of see that arrow that's projected. So although I was saying that, it's probably as bad as it's been anywhere else. So the wind's going to be trying to push us left. Yeah, the wind is coming in from this side, pushing us that way. So we're having to crab this way, so we're going to use left rudder to hold the nose towards the runway. and then right wing down to control our positioning, left or right. So we'll just roll. You can see if we rolled a long way, we'll slide this way across the runway. Can you see it happening? We stay facing the runway by using rudder, or facing in the runway direction I should say. So you can do the same the opposite direction. Look, if I keep us pointing towards the runway and just tip the wing down, we slide left. If we do the same the other way, we maintain runway direction, wing down. It's sometimes difficult, yeah, we're side slipping so much, look, we're slowing right down. It's quite good fun though. It's a good technique to master because it's so useful in crosswinds. Because you can just keep the nose runway direction and then just bank to translate yourself across the runway. Okay, so you'll see what happens if I let go of the rudder. Let go of it now, and suddenly we're starting to turn into the wind. Okay, so flaps up. Cowl flaps up. If I can grab them with the head tracking on. Okay. Turn the OBS mode off. So it's suspended. See, we need to turn right to about 30 degrees. Put this back onto GPS mode. Notice it's when you go into OBS mode, it messes up the rendering. So you end up having to do a direct to get back on track. Or just use heading mode. It's not difficult. So if we bring the heading round to match our nose direction and try to do this without the aeroplane squirreling all over the place. It really doesn't want to play ball at the moment. The wind hitting the side of the tail is tipping the aeroplane over. Okay, there we go. So we'll put the autopilot on. We're on heading mode, which is fine. We're just coming up to 2,000 feet, which is good. So altitude, hold on. And we're off towards Hervey Bay. And we're going to have yet another crosswind landing to deal with. We've picked the day for this, haven't we? So it's almost perpendicular to the runway. Although, what's the wind on the ground at Hervey Bay? It's 14 knots, 30 degrees again, so it's pretty similar. Obviously it's exposed to the wind out here. Looking at the direction of the wind, it would favour coming in runway 11. So what we'll do is go and turn ourselves away from the track slightly to get an angle on the runway. We'll turn the course to go runway direction, which is 110. So that gives you some idea of our trek. So we need to turn further this way. So what we're trying to do is come out over here and then come back in. So we're giving ourselves at least some room to turn in. We don't have to go that far out. So where it's on the map? Yeah, we are coming in quite close. So we might be winging this a bit if we come in this tightly to it. Although the wind is pushing us further away, so we'll probably follow a track kind of that direction. Let's see if we can spot the runway. I was just reading the live stream comments there. I actually quite like flying crosswind landings because it encourages you to practice stick rudder skills, which I think a lot of people go and rely on autopilot a bit too much. In the cruise, I'm quite happy to sit on autopilot. As soon as I get on ILS or lined up, for a visual landing, I typically switch everything off. Okay, so we're going to go and open the cowl flaps again, if I can grab it through the fascia. So we can see, without even putting this into OBS mode, we can see what we're going to have to do. See the runway over there yet? It's probably underneath the wing, isn't it? Here, I think it might be. There we go. See, if we didn't have live weather on, we wouldn't have all this fun and games with trying to pick routes and configuring the aeroplane and balancing crosswinds and side slipping, and makes it much more fun, doesn't it? Should we look outside? So we've got puppy lights on this runway. We're being spoiled. So you can see we're aiming to the left of the runway. So what we can do is use the rudder to pull ourselves towards the runway, and then left wing down a little bit to stop ourselves from going to the right. course, then you get the dilemma about what do you do when you're over the runway and you need to level up. But usually it should be fair, you know, as long as you level out just above the ground, you'll be fine. And we're hitting turbulence from the trees, of course we are. So we're a little bit high according to the PAPI lights, but we're not an airliner. We could land 3 times in this runway if we wanted to. There we go, we've got 1 red and 3 whites. This looks a bit sort of fish-eye at the moment. If I press F, is that what's going on? Yeah, maybe it was a little bit panoramic. It looked a bit distorted on the runway there. Okay, so the cowl flaps can come back up. Making a big lazy turn towards the next leg. Partly to be nosy and have a look at this. So what's the name of this town on the end of the Arangan? That's probably not how you pronounce it. And Torquay, which is the same name as a town in... No, it's Torquay in Devon, or Cornwall. I think it's in Devon. Okay, so we're just doing a lazy turn out over the headland here, and we're going to go on to, oh, we get an actual landing into the wind look at Pacific Haven. Wonders will never cease. So we want about 290 degrees, oh no, sorry, 260 degrees on the compass. So let's go and move the compass point around to about 260. Go and put the autopilot on, it's on heading mode. Go for altitude hold, we're at decent altitude already. Oops, it was already on it I think. There we go. For fuel. Where are the fuel gauges in this thing? There we go. We've got loads. Could probably fly to Adelaide with this amount of fuel. Sim's frozen. Wait for it to wake up. Come on, Flight Simulator, you can do it. There you go. So what we're doing is backtracking across here, and then we can turn in to Pacific Haven. And then we got another crosswind at Bundaberg. Although there is a grass runway there, look. And then we got quite a long leg up to Agnes Water, and then Gladstone. So I think tonight I may take this as far as Gladstone, and we'll have a look around the airport, but I'll park up and I'll do the next big leg up to Mackay another night. I'm just looking around the airports here. Although Rockhampton is there as well, isn't it? Yeah, I'll do Gladstone tonight, and then we'll do Rockhampton and the rest of the trip up to Mackay over the weekend probably. Okay. It's going to be fascinating to look at Gladstone because I only installed it earlier. I've not actually landed there, not seen it. So it's one of the latest ones that Orbex have done, isn't it? Seeing the props are not quite a sync, that's probably because I've just not got the levers in the right place. RPM. Yeah, they're slightly out. If I was to push them all the way forwards. Both on the red line. Happy now. Because this is a Carenado at the end of the day. So airspeed is creeping up. It's not going to be the most accurate engine modelling in the universe. Yeah, I know you can go by the same, but the problem is I've got head tracking on, and aligning these exactly. It's a shame this doesn't have the vacuum meter that tells you if you're favouring one side or the other, which is a really cool little. If any of you have seen that in the cockpit on any of them, sometimes on a twin you get like a little vacuum meter, like a windmill that spins one way or the other. It's really cool. Okay, so what's the GPS saying? We've got 6 miles to run. It's off to our right somewhere. Let's have a look on the GPS sheet. Okay, so Pacific Haven Airport, and it's a skinny little airport. Reggie's Retreat is at one end of it. So we're about to pass Howard down here on the left. It's this little settlement. Can we see the airfield yet? So what I'm going to do is come off the autopilot. We might have to even circle it before we see it. So come back to 50% throttle, which is the limit before you get the klaxon if you haven't got the wheels down. So we're looking to bleed some speed off basically. This is the airfield here. I think it might be. Do a bit of a Spitfire approach into it, which obviously, because we're going straight into the wind, is a lot more easy than, or a lot easier, I should say, than a crosswind approach where you want to get things stable beforehand. wheels down from outside so you get to watch it. Flaps should have come down. I completely forgot again. So with a bit of luck we shouldn't get thrown around too much on this approach. There's not too many features near the airflow, is there, that's coming towards us. Climb out might be a little bit bumpy. That's interesting, isn't it? Look at their runway. Is that just a bump in the middle of it? Why is he being paranoid now? And there's that turbulence we predicted. It's just a downdraft over the corner of the trees. Okay. Left turn. Or is it right turn? Oh, I'm forgetting which way we're going now. Yeah, it's left turn. The magenta line hadn't updated on the GPS. So cow flaps can come back up. Yeah, just reading the comments there, the Tobii Eye Tracker does make it a lot easier. It's not perfect, it does drift, but it means that looking around corners and being able to orient yourself is so much easier. So let's go for nav mode this time. The aeroplane keep climbing up to 2,000 feet, and then we'll go for altitude hold. Helps if you click it at the right moment. Okay, so let's line things up for the leg. And we've got 19 miles to run to White Bud, approach on the map. Let's have a look at it. Bundaberg. So it'll be crosswind, we'll be coming in runway 32, we'll just put up with it, it'll be fine. And then Agnes water, and then our final destination today, which will be Gladstone. Let's have a look outside. That's the other thing I should point out. The head tracking actually works on the outside views as well. Obviously I can look around without looking directly at the aeroplane. So while I have the mouse control still, I can still look around. Which means you can hold the aeroplane in a particular place in the picture. You know, you don't have to have it directly in the middle, which is quite nice for screenshots. So there's a question there about trimming. Let me just put myself back inside. So I have got an Airbus stick, and at the top of the stick there is a hat switch. I've always done this in flight simulators. I have set the hat switch to do elevator and aileron trim. I never put views on the hat switch, which means then I can continually trim just by pushing the thumbstick around at the top of the joystick. It's just something I got used to doing many years ago with the likes of DCS and X-Plane, and I've always done it. So whenever I get into a flight simulator, the first thing I do is go and set up some basic mappings, and one of the first ones I do is putting the trims on the hat switch. So the reason Nightbot is removing things is if you go and put repeated exclamation marks or anything on it, it thinks it's spam. If you put too many emojis on anything, it thinks it's spam, so it just removes it. Okay, so we're coming in towards the next airfield, which is Bundaberg, 11 miles out. You can see that on the GPS here. Let's reduce the range a little bit. So we're coming in straight in, so we don't have to do any manoeuvres. We should see it. We can already see it in front of us. It's just out in the distance. We do probably want to track a little bit to the right, but we'll do that when we get closer. So Chris Strobel says, I'm anxiously awaiting the Beechcraft Duke that's coming out. Might be an excuse to finally get that PFC Beach, okay? Yeah, the Duke does look good, doesn't it? And Black Square have been very good so far. So the Duke was very good in Prepare 3D. I think it was abandoned by its developers and they made it available to everybody somehow. I can't quite remember how it happened. But yeah, the beach in Prepare 3D was quite nice. It is an odd looking plane now, it's got a really long nose. So whose Airbus stick am I using? It's the Thrustmaster one. I've probably got the most minimal setup of anybody. I can't put a photograph into the chat, can I? Otherwise I'll take a picture of my setup. It'd make you all laugh actually. Alongside the computer that's running Flight Simulator, I've got an old computer running Windows XP. Just for a laugh. I bought it from eBay about, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago. It did have Windows 98 on it for a while, but I got so fed up with it crashing with device driver issues that I put XP on it, which was like a wonder cure. But it's surprising actually looking back now. I'm a software developer in the daytime, so this sort of stuff interests me. It's surprising looking back, because I remember when XP came out. I was working when it came out and remember the derision at the hardware requirements for it. But it is interesting looking back at XP how many things it got right that are still in Windows now. It really did make a huge jump over previous versions of Windows. Much more so than any have since. I guess the jump to Windows 7 was quite significant as well. And that again formed a lot of the groundwork of what we now have. I never quite understood why everybody was so anti-Vista, because I never had an issue with it. And Windows 8 was really just Vista. Sorry, Windows 7 was Vista with some tidying up on the interface. And the whole user access control thing, yeah, Windows 7 just tidied up the interface of that a little bit. Okay, so mindful that the nose is pointing to the right. I don't know if you can notice that on the live stream, but the airplane's pointing over there. So I'll show you the other way of doing this. I'm not sure if I'll get it right first time or if the wind is strong enough to really show it in a twin, but we can just crab along the runway, and as we lose altitude to drop down, we twist the airplane straight with the rudder at the last moment. I think it's a much more difficult technique than getting the airplane stable with rudder on approach. The airliners tend to do it this way, where they remain crabbing all the way until the last moment, and then they swing the plane round, but they put the rear wheels down while they're still crabbing. Whoever painted this runway wants firing, don't they? Okay, so we keep going, hold it off, hold it off, hold it off, hold it off, and then we pull it round. So yeah, I almost did that neatly. And then we're using the crabbing technique again as we take off, just to hold the pressure against the wind. Gear up. I forgot to do the cowl flaps, didn't I? Oh well. But yeah, doing the technique we just showed requires a lot more practice and knowledge of the plane you're flying, you know, having a feel for it, I guess. Because I'm jumping planes every day, it makes that very difficult to do. Just reading Roy Mack's comment there about wanting to change the view direction. I do that all the time as well. Sometimes I do group flights on Discord and I'll be watching somebody on their live stream on Discord, and I want to go and change the view. You do forget, don't you, that you're not looking at your own machine. It's so funny. So we're just climbing out. We'll go back to, we're on nav mode on the GPS, so we'll go and put the autopilot on and get ready for, we'll go vertical speed. Whoops, I keep doing that. 500 feet a minute just to get up to 2,000. So I think this is one of the longer legs, isn't it? Yeah, we've got 50 miles to go. So I might go and grab a quick coffee while we're on this leg and just get up to 2,000 feet. Just keeping an eye on the altimeter and getting ready for the altitude hold button. engine pressures. It's all still good, isn't it? It's a Carenado plane. They don't go wrong, do they? So let's increase the range on this so we can at least see the next waypoint. There it is. We've got 15 or 16 minutes until we get there. 42 miles to run. So I'm going to turn the head tracking off for a bit. Put ourselves on a nice view across the cockpit. And I'm going to go and grab a quick coffee. I'll be back in a moment.
Okay, I'm back.
Prop animation on other aircraft always makes me laugh. Okay, let's have a little look at what's going on. So we're 30 miles out from YAWT, so we can see we're just coming along this bay. We've got somebody running transmitter coming past. I'm not running transmitter, am I? Somebody already waiting at Gladstone. So Agnes water, I think, is a tiny little grass strip. Yeah, well, it's not tiny, it's almost 4,000 feet long. But interesting. So I guess while we are flying along, I'm not sure if the guys watching the channel are aware of this, but there is a very nice Discord server that I founded called Virtual Flight Online, and a virtual airline. I'm going to do the sales job. So if we go and click on Discord, there it is. So it's got, obviously has the introduction to it, welcome to Virtual Flight Online. There's lots of channels, there's about, I don't know, 1,700 members at the moment. There's a general channel with lots of discussion about Flight Simulator, introductions of people coming in from all over the world. People sharing screenshots. There's a forum where you can get support on this sim if things aren't working or whatever, so, you know, from the community. There's a virtual airline, and that's a whole other subject. We sometimes do ATC classes with people. We've got a couple of people that like being ATC, so they'll just run a local session and pretend to be the tower. There's lots of resources, so discussions about the various aircraft in the sim, about various sceneries, about the liveries, flight plans, software, hardware, content creators, books, you know, you name it, we've got a channel for it. It's just, yeah, we run events very regularly as well, so if you look up in the events calendar in Discord, there's 6 coming up. There's one on Sunday coming, which is Reunion Island, which is, I think it's going to be a good one. So we quite often get 30 or 40 people turn up for the events to do a group flight together. You'll have seen them on the channel, probably. There's another one at Grand Canyon in fast jets. There's another one coming up. Historic routes. There's another one, Joe Cool's Sunday, North Carolina. Another one here, Manitowoc County and Mackinac Island in the Great Lakes. Naples. So it's in the Everglades, sorry. That'd be an interesting one as well. So yeah, but the community make the events. I think that's the thing to take away from it. They're not prescribed from some powers that be. Anybody that joins can make an event and advertise to people that want to come along. And because we've got such a big community of people, it works really nicely. So if you want to join the Discord server, just go to, in your browser, go to Virtual Flight Online and go to join us on Discord, and there's a link on that page of all about it. So about installing Discord if you've not got it, and then you just click the button to join and it brings you straight in. So there you go, that's Discord. Okay. We also have a virtual airline. I'm not going to go on about that tonight. So you can have a career there of sorts. It's a really big community, and we seem to somehow have avoided the idiots, which has been, you know, that it's a group of majorly kind of enthusiastic aviation nuts, basically. We all, you know, mess around with Flight Simulator. We turn up on group flights together and arrange them. We help each other with simulator problems and just have fun, really. Virtual airline, we've got a few minutes, so I can have a look at it quickly. If you go to va.virtualflight.online, there's the virtual airline. So we've got nearly 1,400 pilots. It's crazy. They have flown collectively 14 million miles now, 63,000 hours logged, 46,000 flights logged. You can see at right this moment there are a number of our pilots are in the air. If you go and click on one of them, it will show you where they're going, what part of the flight they're in. You can see the flights that have been dispatched or in progress at the moment here as well. There are scheduled flights all over the world, so we can go to look at the route maps. So again, the schedules are absolutely insane. So say we're going to use Cairo, there are the routes that fly from Cairo on scheduled flights. You could then, if you didn't want to do a big jet flight, you can go into tours, and we've got tours all over the world. for all kinds of things. So, you know, flying around the Alps, for example. And there's a bit of a preamble on each tour. Each tour has many legs that you can complete, and you can see who in the airline has completed or has got so far through completing them. So obviously not everybody's completed them. But then you get to see a map of the legs of what they look like. So you can choose to go and fly one of the legs. It's all described in the documentation for it. And you get scored on them. That's probably the most fun thing. So if I go and log in as me, for example, and you can see there's the last leg I did. I obviously went sightseeing along the way. If we go and look at my profile, it will have my last few legs. Let's see, here's one here. And you can see I actually got 100%, so it marks you with this NACARS program you run alongside the simulator that keeps an eye on what you're doing. So it measures your landing rate, and it tells you if you stalled, if you oversped taxiing, if you operated the airplane correctly, basically. And you get to see, obviously, the track of your route. So it gives you all sorts of goodies. But the thing that always amazes me is you win badges for completing tours. People went insane over that. I never imagined that would work, but it does. So just go to va.virtualflight.online and you can join for free. It's completely free. It's just paid for by donations from people that use it. So there is a Patreon, you can see it there. There's a newsletter as well. So when you join the airline, it gives you a reminder about, you might be interested in the newsletter. So there is a regular newsletter from the airline telling you about new tours or anything that's going on. So you can see at Christmas there was a Nordics tour, which took you, gives you basically the info on what's going on in the airline. Any new tours, any changes. There's an Asia tour being announced there. Map of the route, where the legs go. It's very, very good. Anyway, so yeah, run by the community, for the community. So I was instrumental in getting it put together, but I don't run it. The community runs it. So I don't. So I guess I own it on paper, but I don't. I'm not a heavy-handed manager of any sort. I'm an enabler. Let's put it that way. Someone said, "Did you say badges?" Yes, you can earn badges. You can also earn a rank. So the hours you accrue in the airline give you a rank, and you start off as a private pilot, or as a student pilot even. After an hour flying, you become a private pilot. We really shortened it up. And then you go through Class D, C, B, and A. And you go co-pilot and pilot all the way up through the ranks as well. So the number of hours you have flown earns you the rank your way up the rank structure. There is some extra stuff in there about the scheduled flights, that you can only choose particular tours if you are of a given rank, for example, and you can only choose particular planes for the scheduled flights if you are a particular rank. But it's all explained. It's kind of designed to ease people into it a little bit and to give it a kind of a bit of a game element, but not too much. Okay, so we're looking for a grass runway, and we're nearly there. So we're about to fly right over the top of it. So let's go and come off the autopilot and start looking. So I'm going to do a deliberate left turn so I can look out over the left wing. Let's put the head tracking back on. And we got a friend request. I can't do it while I'm flying, I'm afraid. I'll have to wait. If anybody wants to add me as a friend on Flight Sim, I can't see that it has any function at all, but you're welcome to try it. So I'm just looking where this runway might be. There's a road down there in the grass. Is that it down there? I think that's it, isn't it? Let's just double check that. No. It might be that. So is it opposite the bay? Yeah, it's that patch of grass, isn't it? Right. Again, you can see we're going to have turbulence here as well, aren't we? Look at the crab angle we're coming in at. So we're going that way, but we're pointing that way. Turbulence. I was waiting for that. Suddenly started chucking us around. It went over a bump and kicked us straight back into the air, which was quite interesting. I'm using a Tobii Eye Tracker. Chris is asking if what tracker I'm using. It's a Tobii Eye Tracker. And full disclosure, Tobii gave me it. So they obviously wanted me to showcase it on the channel, which I was only too happy to do. It was one of the first commercial things where somebody actually reached out to me, to be honest. Since then, I've had a few different companies actually. So Orbex have offered me bits and pieces now and again. But I don't often have the freedom to be able to, in terms of time, to be able to record something they want in time for them to give me a copy of whatever it is. So quite often I don't have the chance to do anything with them, which is a real shame. But I do buy quite a lot of stuff off them anyway. Navigraph have helped me out as well. So they gave me a subscription in terms, in return for showing people how Navigraph works from time to time, which has worked really nicely. But I was paying for it anyway, so they just prepaid me some more. I did have one of the really good VR companies approach me very recently actually, and I thought about it because they wanted to send me a headset to obviously to record content with it, but I can't see the value of recording videos of an experience that the viewer can't share. I've had a go on a VR headset. My dad's got one. He's got a Reverb G2, is it? And yes, it's brilliant and great fun, but nobody can see or experience what you are experiencing, so it's kind of pointless recording videos with it. I think that's the story with VR, really. You can't explain to somebody who's never seen it just how good it is. But it isn't perfect either, because you can't you can't operate complex aeroplanes with VR easily, because you don't have your hands in front of you to twist or knobs and buttons and things. Obviously if you have HOTAS, that's a different story. So a fighter jet is brilliant with VR if you have the hardware configured. But if you're needing to lean all over the cockpit, flicking buttons and pushing, rolling knobs and whatever, VR is not a very good use case for it. I don't think that... I'm just reading the comment there about Tobii and TrackIR. I think TrackIR is probably, in some cases, you could argue it's better than Tobii. Where Tobii is very good is the light level doesn't affect it at all, and there's obviously you don't need to put anything on your head. So it's quite forgiving, so I can move across the room actually quite a lot, and you can tune it all anyway. And I can roll easily. Nod my head a lot, and obviously the amount you twist, nod or roll can be configured. I don't really think too much about it. I actually think, to be honest, the Tobii implementation in DCS is far superior to Flight Simulator. They've got some sort of damping mechanism on the direction you're looking, so you don't get any wiggle happening or any drift. You have to markedly move your head before it snaps away from where it was looking. And it works really nicely. So yeah, LittleNavMap, I think, just reading that comment about LittleNavMap versus Navigraph, I think LittleNavMap is actually superior to Navigraph in some situations, certainly for things like this. But I would also say Navigraph obviously is brilliant if you're flying the big jets. So having those approach plates and things is absolutely fantastic. And if you're learning IFR in the real world, getting familiar with what the approach plates look like, it's absolutely brilliant for that. There is another piece of software. Well, there's actually two of them. One of them's called ForeFlight, that's used in the real world, which is brilliant. And I'm not sure if you can connect ForeFlight to Flight Simulator. You might be able to, but there's another one called SkyDemon, which is used a lot in the UK and Europe by private pilots, and that can be connected to Flight Simulator through a little bit of middleware that somebody wrote. And I've thought about buying a copy of it, but it was quite expensive. It's, there's a per month cost to it and a purchase cost. But I thought about buying a copy of it just to show people what SkyDemon can do that Flight Simulator can't, or that any of the other programs for Flight Sim can't. It really is quite remarkable how good it is. Okay, so we are approaching the end of our flight for tonight, which will be at Gladstone. I'm going to circle Gladstone when we get there. The weather's closing in on us though, isn't it? That looks pretty horrific out there. How far have we got to go? 25 miles. So I'm hand flying at the moment. I'm just absent-mindedly hand flying along. It hadn't even occurred to me to put the autopilot on. And we've got the cowl flaps open as well, which aren't helping probably aerodynamically. Let's close them. Although, no, maybe this isn't the most accurately modelled aeroplane ever though. Look, I think it's quite happily chugging along with the cowl flaps wide open. So let's go and go nav mode, turn the autopilot on, go for altitude, hold. And maybe we'll take it up to 2,000 feet actually, so let's go vertical speed mode and... whoops. See, this is the problem with Tobii, it drifts a little bit, so you have to be very careful about leaning into things that you are altering. So when Flight Simulator wobbles the screen, the mouse stays on top of the instrument you're wanting to change. Which is actually not a bad deal anyway, because say you're watching this and I go and lean in, I'm actually leaning in to alter something, but it means you get to see what I'm looking at closer. So it's kind of a win-win. So just coming up to 2000 actually, yeah, let's stop there because we're getting up into the cloud, which means we won't get to see much until we descend again, right on the edge of it. In this case, in it. We might get wet in a moment, you might see some water streaming over the windscreen. Ah, so Chris, does that mean, yes, you use ForeFlight with 2020? Excellent. Yeah, so for those that aren't aware, ForeFlight is a professional piece of software for real-world pilots to use. Obviously, if there is some middleware you can use to connect it to Flight Sim, then brilliant. But it will make Navigraph and LittleNavMap look a bit ordinary. I'm telling you that now. And so will SkyDemon. But there is cost associated with them. But if you can afford them, if you are learning and you're, a lot of people will be using them because they're learning towards, or trying to keep skills current, or learning towards their qualification for pilot's license. So they're wanting to become familiar with the tools. Whoa, this is turning into an IMC flight rapidly, isn't it? Hopefully we'll come through this cloud. What's the METAR? Show information for Gladstone. Overcast 2,500 feet, overcast 3,900 feet. Okay, so what are we at? 1,900 feet. What's the barometric pressure? 1009. What have we got? 1010. Now we got 1009, hardly any difference. Yeah, it's clearing a little bit, look. That is a little bit higher than us. You see a boat out there in the bay. So yeah, at some point I'll try and cover ForeFlight and SkyDemon on the channel to show people what they are and what real pilots use. If you watch somebody like Stefan Drury, he often, during his flights that he records on YouTube, he's a fantastic pilot by the way, he flies an SR-22 in Australia, but he's done various recordings around Europe as well. Stefan often, shows what's on his tablet when he's making decisions, or planning his flights. So he will be showing, I'm not sure if he uses ForeFlight, or I'm not sure. You'd have to go and watch his channel. But there's several channels like Stefan's that are very similar, where you'll get to see them planning and talking during the flight about what they're doing and their routing. So 11 miles to run. It's a shame the weather was so poor. Maybe over the weekend it might brighten up a little bit. You can see, look at that over there. That's horrific. Glad we're not over there. So, what's the wind doing on the ground at Gladstone? 330 degrees, 8 knots. If you're wondering what I'm doing when I read that out, if I hover the mouse over, can you see at the bottom it says NOAA Station Meta? I'm looking at the fourth group of characters. So it says 33008 KT. That means 330 degrees, that's the direction the wind's coming from, and at 8 knots. So it's coming in from that direction at 8 knots, that's at ground level. So we do want to come in runway 28. But we're going to go and circle the airfield first because we've not seen it in the simulator yet. So coming off the autopilot. So this is the recently released scenery from Orbex. We'll have a good look around the airport once we've landed. I've still got the Xbox controller plugged in so we can use that with the drone camera. Somebody's cooked an engine that's flying with us. That's easily done. What were you flying, just out of interest? So that's 845 Sim. What were you flying? Was it a black square aeroplane? Oh, the Chancellor. Yeah, you can break the engine in the Chancellor as well quite easily, can't you? Okay, so we can see the runway now at Gladstone, but we're going to circle the airfield first, have a look at it, and then come back around. So we'll keep an eye out of the left window. So I'm going to come back to 50% throttle so we're not going too fast as we circle. And we'll straighten the view up. There we go. Might be wise to do this from outside actually, because then you get a wider panoramic view of the scenery. So they appear to have I think that's part of the scenery. I can't imagine that was in the flight simulator scenery, unless it's part of the Orbex Australia update maybe. Oh, not Orbex, the world update. Yeah, it looks like they've done some treatment on the nearby railway tracks as well. Maybe on the industrial estate as well, by the look of it. I imagine this is industrial estate, looks like it, doesn't it? Because there's all these gantries over the rails. You can't imagine that was part of the original scene. Yeah, they've got rail cars on the tracks. There's some load on demand stuff going on here. Obviously we're going to go off with the drone camera anyway and have a close look at the airfield. Looks like it's going to be quite interesting when we get down there in a few minutes. tootling along at 50% throttle. Just rolling out right to give ourselves some turning circle. Sorry for the fairground ride. The roads are really nicely modelled as well. Look, they've got the street lights. They're accurately done for a change. Very nice. P.S. Don't land like me. The runway texture is awesome. Look at that. Crosswind is kicking in again. Yeah, that texturing on the runway is really something else. It's got the high grip pattern cut into it as well. So the landing light can come off. The strobes can come off. We're going to go and have a nose around. We'll taxi in slowly. There's all the hangars. There's an open hangar over there. I'm not quite nosy enough to go and look inside it. There's a load of Cessnas parked up. Is that the local flight school, I imagine? Helicopter. Go and park at the Qantas terminal. We have no business being here, but Qantas freight terminal. Actually, no, let's go right in front of the passenger terminal. Right. Let's just at least switch our engine off before we go in there. Engines off, I should say. I think the doors work on this, don't they? So we have to open them up here, is that right? Or not? I thought they worked. Am I being a bit dim here? Ah. Yes, I was overthinking it. Anyway. So that was a Seminole that we just flew. That was this lovely little aeroplane that was very easy to control, as you saw, even though I came in like a barnstormer on the final run-in. And what we're going to do is press 5 on the keypad, which will put the camera back down here. Now I think, yeah, we're going to need to slow that down so we can have a look around the terminal. So drone speed needs to come down to 2. That'll be fine. So let's go and have a look. Actually, that's far too slow, isn't it? So let's go and see what Orbex have done with Gladstone Regional Airport. So we'll pretend to walk in through the doors. Walk in through the outdoors, I should say. It's very well done, isn't it? It's very, very cool. Let's go and have a whiz around with the camera. Virgin Australia with all of their signage. That's the departure board. Coffee stand. Who wants a bag of crisps? And she looks very proud of herself. She just arrived at gate 3, or no, she's just got away with putting her bag through that she thought was too big, maybe. Qantas Club. So this is the executive lounge, I guess. Regional lounge for Qantas. Very cool. Oh, look at this. Posh chairs to sit in. Businessman over here. Business lady over here. It's really nicely done, isn't it? It's very impressive. This is Gladstone. So there's the departure drop-off point. There's arrivals. Oh, look, they've got the baggage as well, the baggage hall. Very cool. So there's an outdoor seating area there, Qantas Freight. Should we go and have a nose around this helicopter? There's the fuel farm by the look of it, tank farm. Very cool. Let's go and see what they've got in the hangar. Nothing special. So what was in the Flying Club hangar then? If it was the Flying Club. Nothing, which means we could use it. There's no static aircraft sat inside it. There's a refueling point. So yeah, this very much looks like the Flying Club, doesn't it? Very cool. So anyway, there you go. That was Gladstone, the custom scenery from Orbex. So hopefully you've enjoyed the flight. Just before we go then, let's go and change the time of day and see what it looks like at night, shall we? See what the night lighting looks like. Oh, that's the fuel, not the time. I'm always doing that. Time. So we'll... Very cool. They really have done a nice job with it, haven't they? Right, back to our aeroplane. And I'll see you again soon. So I'm going to shut the live stream down there. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon. Take care.